Good evening, everyone. Good evening to you all. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome to another live session. Here we're going to have some heart to heart talk. And as usual, I always say this is a brother to a brother talking, right? See this as a coffee table talk. And thank you so much, guys, for sticking around. We started a new series and it's been great. It's been so far so good. Thank you so much for hanging around. The title of the series is Before It's Too Late. And we've already done 4 episodes in this new series. Wow, how time flies. We've done 4 episodes already. So tonight, this is episode number 5. And this episode is titled The Years I Gave Away. The years I gave away. It promises to be interesting. So stick around. Let me start tonight with something that is hard to admit. A lot of us did not lose our years. A lot of us did not lose our years. We gave them away. We simply gave them away. We gave them away trying to survive. We gave away our years trying to be accepted. We gave away our years waiting for the right moment. We gave away our years to fear. We gave away our years to comfort. We gave away our years to the wrong people. We gave them away to distraction. We gave them away to the old version of ourselves that should have been released years ago. And what makes this painful is that most people do not realize it while it's happening. You realize it later. You realize it when you look at old pictures. You realize it when your child is suddenly taller than you remember. You realize it when your marriage feels distant. You realize it when your body feels different. You realize it when you're still talking about the same dream 10 years later. You realize it when life gets quiet enough for the truth to become loud. You realize it. And that truth sounds like this. Where did the years go? Where did the years go? But sometimes this is not even the real question, This is not the real question sometimes. You see question like, who did I give the years to? Who did I give it to? What did I trade the years for? What was I protecting all this while? What was I afraid of all this while? And why did I keep postponing myself? See, tonight is not about guilt. Tonight is about recognition. This is not about guilt at all. This is about recognition. Because you cannot reclaim the years behind you. It is gone. It is behind. But you can stop donating the years ahead of you to things that do not deserve them. You can stop donating your years ahead to people that do not deserve them. The ones that are gone, they are now in the past. So no regrets. We just need to know what went wrong. Let's talk about one of the biggest thieves of a person's life. Busyness. Not purpose, busyness. Busyness makes you feel important. It is this stimulus, it stimulates you. It makes you feel responsible. It makes you feel needed. Busyness gives you a reason not to pause and examine your life. It makes you think you're getting something done. See, friends, I knew someone whose answer to everything was, I am busy. If you call him, he says, I'm busy. If you ask him for something, I'm busy. How are you? Busy. How is life? Busy. How are things going? Busy. Have you had time to think about your future? Busy. And from the outside, it looked admirable. It looked as if you're planning yourself. You're always moving, always on the move, always helping, always doing, always exhausted. But then one day, after years of running, after years of business, they had a quiet moment. And quiet moment tells the truth. Quiet moment always tells the truth. They said, I've been active for years, but I don't know if I've actually been intentional. That hit me. I felt that. Because movement is not always progress. Motion is not always direction. You can spend 10 years managing life and never really build life. Some people have schedules full of things that keep them occupied, but they are never transformed. They have errands, they have work, they have obligations. They are helping everyone, they are responding to everybody, they are trying to fix everybody, showing up for everybody. And somehow, in the middle of all of that, they never sat down enough to ask themselves, what am I becoming? Hello, Nikki Randoms, how you doing? They never ask themselves, what am I becoming? Not what am I doing? Not what am I handling? Not what am I reacting to? What am I becoming? In all this busyness, what is it translating to for me? Because a person can be very responsible and still be abandoning themselves. You can be very responsible and still be playing second fiddle. You can be very responsible and still be living yourself. Thank you so much, Nikki. You can be responsible and still be abandoning yourself. Let's talk about the mother who gave everything to everyone. All right, I want to make this relational, something we all know. There was a woman who spent nearly every part of her adult life taking care of other people. She was the one everyone called. She was the reliable one, the one who remembered birthdays, the one who stayed late, the one who made the meal, the one who smoothed things over when there's chaos, the one who absorbed tension so everybody else could feel okay. Does that sound like somebody you know? Does that sound like your mother at home? Or one auntie you know close to you in your neighborhood? And for years, people praise her for it. For years, they call her the mom of the neighborhood. They called her strong, they called her loving, they called her selfless. But strength has a shadow when it is never replenished. I did a video called, I think Strength is Finite. One day our children got older, our house got quieter. The emergencies were fewer. The constant need had changed now. And she sat in her own living room and realized something that she has never given permission to herself to say. What she said was, I don't know who I am outside of being needed. I don't know my personality outside of these needs. That is painful. That is painful. Because for years, she was applauded while slowly disappearing. For years, she was applauded while she was forgetting herself. And that happens to a lot of people, especially caregivers, especially parents, especially providers, especially the emotionally matured. You know, that person that is so matured in the family who everyone leans on. Sometimes the years you gave away are not wasted in a selfish way. They were given away in service. But even service can become unhealthy when it erases the person doing it. Love should not require your disappearance. Care should not require your erasure. Responsibility should not mean you never become a full person again. And I know some people listening to me right now feel that in their chest. They feel that in their guts because you've been the strong one for too long. So you do not even know what your own life wants from you anymore. Let me talk about a quieter kind of loss tonight. The years given to distraction. not evil, not scandalous, not dramatic, just slowly disappearing thr- through divided attention. You're just disappearing through divided attention. Somebody once said to me, I think I lost 5 years to my phone. He said that straight up. He said, I think I lost 5 years to my phone. And they were not, it wasn't exaggerating. Not because they sat on their phone for 5 years straight. No. But every day, little by little, their attention was taken. 15 minutes here, 40 minutes there. Late night scrolling, mornings checking. Breaks disappearing, thoughts interrupted. And distraction is dangerous because it does not feel like a major life decision. It is harmless, or it feels harmless. It feels like a break. It feels like a reward. It feels like staying informed. Sarcastic scoundrel said, counting all technology, I've lost about 20 years to devices. No worries, no worries, man. You'll get them back. It feels like staying informed. It feels like unwinding. But eventually, you realize you've spent years watching other people live while you delayed your own life. You're watching them launch, you're watching them build, you're watching them travel, you're watching them love, you're watching them speak, you're watching them become. And the more you watch, the harder it becomes to move. You get fixated. Because watching can create the illusion of participation, you know. You think you're part of their lives. But actually, you are just an onlooker. You're just an onlooker. You feel close to growth without actually growing. You feel emotionally stimulated without actually changing. You feel informed without actually being transformed. And one day you wake up and realize my attention has been living my life before my body ever did. That is why attention matters so much, friends. It matters so much because where your attention goes, your years follows. I did a video, please go check it out. It's on this channel. I did a video called Attention is Not Equals to Focus. Remember, friends, where your attention goes, your life follows. See, everyone knows someone that kept talking about the book. Maybe you even know someone like that. A man who says for years that he's going to write a book. He talks about it so beautifully. He has thoughts, he has stories, he has wisdom. He even has notes in his phones. And every year he says, I'm going to start. He means it too. He means he's going to start. That is what that's what actually makes it sad. He means it. He wants to start. But meaning it is not the same as moving on it. Meaning it is not the same. It's not the same as sitting down to write the book. 1 year becomes 3, 3 becomes 7, 7 becomes 12. He's still talking about the book. He wants to write a book. He's a wise man. He got thoughts. He got things to write down. But he has not started yet. He means to start, but he has not started yet. 1 year has turned to 3 years. 3 years has turned to 7. 7 has turned to 12. He's still saying he has something in him. For sure, he's got something in him. He's got something to talk about. He's still saying one day. Of course, it's going to be one day. He's still waiting for the ideal stretch of time. He's still waiting to feel clear. He's still waiting to feel less tired. Oh, I like what you said there. Realization is very far from actualization, unfortunately. That is so true, my friend. That is so true. See, he's still waiting for life to settle. And eventually, he has to face a hard truth. He did not lose the book because he lacked talent. No. He lost years to postponement. He lost years to scattered attention. He lost years to fear of beginning badly. He lost years to overthinking. He lost years to protecting himself from the vulnerability of finding out what will happen if he actually tried. See, friends, a lot of dreams do not die because life attacks them. They die because delay quietly seeps the life out of them. Delay starves them to death. Now let's get deeper. Some people give away years because they were afraid of what people will say. That's real. That's human. That is common. You have this thought in your head. You have this thing you want to start, but things are not clear. So you're thinking, oh, what will people say? So you give away years. You keep on waiting. You keep on waiting. You keep on waiting because of what people will say. It is common these days. Fear of judgment can hold a life hostage. Nobody's holding you hostage, just the fear of judgment is holding you on the spot, hostage. You want to change careers, but what will they think? That is why you have not changed. You're standing in a career that you don't love anymore. You know this career has phased out. You know technology has changed it. You want to change, but you're still thinking, I'm holding on to it because of what will people say. You want to start a business, but you think, what if it fails publicly? You've not even started. You're already calculating the failure and the fear of it failing publicly. In your mind, you're calculating worst case scenario. You have become a project manager for a business you've not started. You want to go back to school, but what if people say you're too old? In your mind, you're thinking about those possibilities. You want to change your body. You want to change your look. You want to change your cycle, change your standard, change your environment, change your peace, change your identity. But you are not just fighting the decision. You're fighting the audience in your mind. You're fighting the invisible crowd that might laugh, that might ask you questions, that might misunderstand, that might compare your first step to somebody else's 20th year. And so you stay where you are. You stay put. You stay on the spot. It's not because you love it. You don't love it. But it is socially safer. And the tragedy is, friends, the tragedy here is that many people rather live a life they do not want than to be seen to be trying to build something they like. So what do? They remain where they are. They prefer to be mediocre. They live a life they don't want than to say, oh, let me start something. Let me start pushing. Even if it's not going to work, at least I will know if it's not going to work, but let me try. No. They're like, do you want people to laugh at me? So I prefer to remain like this. See, this is one of the most expensive trade a person can make. Trading authenticity for approval. Trading movement for image. Trading calling for comfort. And later, when the room is quiet, you realize the opinions you feared were never worth the years you surrendered. The opinions you were thinking were so high were never worth a dime. Because the room will be quiet. The room will be quiet, friends. There was a woman who lived almost her entire early adulthood trying not to disappoint her parents. Good person, smart, respectful, capable. But every major decision ran through one filter. Will they approve? Her parents' approval. What degree should she pursue? Parents' approval. What city should she live in? Parents' approval. What kind of work is respectable? Parents' approval. The kind of man that she will get married to? Parents' approval. What kind of life is acceptable? Parents' approval. And from the outside, It looked like she was doing everything right. She was steady, responsible, pleasant, predictable. But inwardly, she was starving. She was starving inwardly because the life she was building made sense on paper, but not in her spirit. And the older she got, the more painful it became. Not because her parents were evil, no. Not because culture was evil, no. Not because respect is wrong, but because she had spent years borrowing a script that was never truly ours. See, and one day she said something heartbreaking. I've spent so much of my life becoming someone other people can be proud of that I don't even know if I have become someone I am proud of. That is heartbreaking, it's heart-wrenching. It is regret. Oh, yesterday I said something and I can't forget it so quickly. You make mistakes. People will laugh and they'll forget. But if you have regrets, regret will stay with you like a sleeve all your life. Regret is not forgotten. It stays like a sleeve. So which will you prefer? Just make the mistake, man, and let them laugh. Besides, who cares? Who cares? See, that is the cost of living you're externally directed. This is the cost of handling your years to expectations that do not match your assignment. As you know, on this channel, I talk about family, I talk about relationship, I talk about youth, I talk about the whole. Now let's talk about relationship because years disappears there too. Sometimes people give away years to a relationship that stopped being healthy a long time ago. You give away your years to a relationship that stopped being healthy a long time ago. Not because these people are foolish, but because hope is powerful. Hope is powerful. History is powerful. Attachment is powerful. Loneliness is powerful. So what happened? They stayed. A person stays because of memories. Stays because of children. Stays because of fear of starting over. Stays because they have invested so much. Stays because living will mean facing the truth that they kept saying to save what is not savable. And so what do? They normalize distance. They normalize disrespect. They normalize disappointment. They normalize emotional hunger. So they stay. They start saying things like, this is just how relationships are. Maybe this is as good as it gets. At least it's not even worse. Oh, I know this and that, theirs is worse. Mine is better. We've already been together this long. I used to watch Steve Harvey say, Steve Harvey, the comedian and the talk show host. Steve Harvey say, if you put 6 bad years in a relationship, do you want to put 6 more? Do you want to invest 6 more? If you have invested 6 years that worked out bad or that turned out bad, do you want to invest 6 more? See, they stay together and years go by. Not always in abuse, not abuse. Sometimes just in depletion. You just keep on disappearing. A slow drain, a quiet shrinking. Life lived under emotional weather that is never violent, that's not so violent enough to force action, but not also healthy enough to bring peace. And then one day somebody looks back and says, I gave the best part of my emotional life trying to make something work that was teaching me to live unloved. See, this is painful realization. This is regret. This is not just romantic. Some people gave years to friendship that kept them small, to circles that mocked growth, to family systems that thrived on guilt, to rooms where they were tolerated but never truly seen. Relationships can either multiply your life or quietly consume your life. Let me make this a little bit practical. There was a man who stayed loyal to the same cycle for years. They had history. They shared jokes. They shared memories. They shared struggles. And loyalty matters, loyalty matters. But the problem was every time he started thinking or talking about growth, he started talking about vision, started talking about discipline, change, standards, healing, learning, something in the room shifted. They will laugh it off. They will laugh it off. They will minimize it. They will turn it into a joke. They will pull him back into the familiar version of himself they were comfortable with. Not because they hated him, but because growth in one person can expose stagnation in everyone else. And eventually, he realized something. He was not lacking ambition. He was overexposed to small thinking. The years he gave away were not just to laziness. No, they were to an environment that made smallness feel normal. That happens all the time, friends. It happens. You can have potential and still stay trapped in if your environment keeps you. It keeps you there and keeps rewarding the version of you that never changes. And if you want to change, if you are talking growth, if you are talking development, everybody says, "What are you talking? What are you saying? What are you saying?" Because your growth exposes their stagnation. So what do? They pull you back. Because that version of you that is not growing is what is loved. That environment will make you not get to your goal. And the years you give to that environment, you'll be shocked that it wasn't worth it. Now, I want to be careful here because I do not want to shame anybody who's trying to survive. No. Like on this channel, we don't do shame. We don't do that. This channel is all pro-growth, pro-development. So shame is not part of what we do here. But there are times we need to talk the truth the way it is. We say it just the way it is. Some people did not waste their years. They endured their years. They did not waste their years. They endured it. They were paying rent. They were working 2 jobs. They were sending money home, raising children, caring for parents, trying to keep the lights on, trying not to break mentally, trying not to collapse under pressure. Survival mode is real. And when you are in survival mode, you do not have the same margin. You do not have the same emotional energy. You do not have the same room to dream. Everything is immediate. Everything is an emergency. Everything is practical. Everything is urgent. So let me say this clearly. If you spent years surviving, I'm not here to call you lazy. Far from that. I'm not even here to call you unmotivated. I can't do that. I'm not here to judge what it took you to keep going, to get you to this position. No. But I'm here to say something lovingly. Survival cannot become your permanent identity. At some point, if grace gives you the chance, surviving must become building. It must metamorphose to building. Because if all you ever do is survive, you stay alive, but will never feel fully expressed. And see, there are people listening to me right now or that are going to watch this video later who are finally in a season where the storm is not as violent as it used to be. But you are still thinking like you are drowning because your mind is now used to that violent storm. You've actually passed it, but your mind is still there. You're still waiting, you're still bracing. You're still assuming all their life is supposed to be is pressure management. No, my friends, no. 1,000 times no. At some point, you deserve to build too. You deserve to live. You don't have to be working on survival mode all your life. At some point, you deserve to live. This story is for a lot of people. Someone leaves home with a vision, not a fantasy, a real vision. They're going to build. They're going to create. They're going to rise. They're going to give their family a better story. Then real life hits, real life happens. Papers, documentation, bills, jobs that do not reflect their potential, language barriers, cultural adjustments, responsibilities back home, pressure here, pressure there. That is real life. It hits, it happens. And what began as a dream turns into maintenance. Just get through the month. Just get through the shift. Just get through the season. Just get through the year. And then one day, after many years, they realize something painful. The life I'm maintaining is not the life I originally came to build. Friends, that hurts. It hurts to the bone. You feel it in your gut. See, because it's not because they were idle. No, they were not idle. They were working hard. But hard work without reevaluation can become a treadmill. Movement without reflection can become a trap. And sometimes the years you gave away were not to laziness. They were to unchallenged routine. You gave away your years to unchallenged routine. Let's talk honestly about numbing here. Numbing is not always addiction in the dramatic sense. Sometimes numbing is constant entertainment, constant noise, constant joking, constant scrolling, constant snacking, constant shopping, constant walking, constant talking. Anything that keeps you from sitting in silence long enough to feel what your life is telling you. Because silence could be revealing. In silence, you realize you're lonely. In silence, you realize you're unhappy. In silence, you realize you are off course. In silence, you realize you miss yourself. In silence, you realize you've been coping, not living. And this is why some people stay overstimulated. Because stimulation protects them from self-confrontation. And the years disappeared there too. The years just keep on going. The years just keep on rolling. You can spend years meditating discomfort instead of addressing the source of it. Years easing pain instead of healing the pain. Years escaping reflection instead of inviting reflection. Years building routines around avoidance. See, and one day you say things like, I do not even know when I stop feeling fully alive. This is why this message matters. Because sometimes what stole your years was not one big catastrophe. No, it was thousands of small escapes, thousands of little work that were not done. That's what steals the years. It's not one big bang, one big catastrophe. No. Thousands of things that you just you overlooked. Now they've compounded. They're not coming back to you in stolen years. Let me make this relational a little bit again. A father worked hard for his family. He was there physically. He came home, he paid the bills, he made sure things were covered. But emotionally, he was gone. Always tired, always distracted, always half listening, always mentally somewhere else. The children loved him. For sure, they loved him. The wife loved him. The wife respected him. But the atmosphere around him was absence. Not because he didn't care, but because he thought presence meant proximity. But presence is not, it's not just being in the room. Presence is being reachable, being available, being attentive, being soft enough for the people around you to feel you. Years later, he regretted not the work itself. He regretted the moment he was too preoccupied to receive. The stories he barely heard, the little invitations he brushed aside, the version of his family that only existed for a season and is now gone. That is relational loss. Hey, Camille Edith, you say, what are we talking about? We're talking about the years you gave away. The years you gave away, that's what we're talking about. Now, let's turn the corner a little bit here. Because this message is not supposed to leave people in sorrow. It's supposed to wake them up. The years you gave away, that's what we're talking about. Here's a turning point, though. Here is the turning point. The years behind you may explain you, but they do not have to sentence you. You can stop giving the rest years away, the one in the front of you. So the question now is how? First, audit your attention. What receives your best energy every day? Second, audit your relationships. Who multiplies your clarity and who consumes your clarity? Third, audit your fear. What have you postponed because you are afraid of being seen trying? Fourth, audit your habits. What are you doing repeatedly that keeps you small and keeps your future small? Fifth, audit your identity. Are you still loyal to a version of yourself that no longer matches where your life is trying to go to? Friends, change begins with honest inventory, not vague aspiration. Inventory. Because vague people stay stuck. Honest people begin again. Vague people stay stuck. Honest people begin again. In episode 1 of this series, we talked about the game changed. Then we jumped to episode 2. We talked about the cost of living. Then we moved to episode 3. We said comfort is quietly expensive. Then episode 4, I thought I had time. This is episode 5, the years I gave away. Do you see what this series is doing? Can you see it? It is not trying to scare you. It's not trying to scare people. It is trying to return them to themselves. And tonight, if this hits you, don't just let it hit only you. Use it. Use it to make the call. Use it to change the habit. Use it to leave the wrong room. Use it to start the thing. Use it to protect what is left of your years. Use it to become harder, to distract from your own life. Because you may not be able to reclaim every year behind you. You may not be able to reclaim it. But you can absolutely refuse to give away the next one before it's too late. Before it's too late. If this message spoke to you, like it, share it, subscribe to our channel, and put this in the comment. I will not give away the rest of my years. This is episode 5. Tomorrow we'll be doing episode 6, and that one is going to be powerful. The title of episode 6 is The Life I Almost Missed. The Life I Almost Missed. The script is ready, everything is ready. So I'll see you there tomorrow. Thanks so much. This is Mark Miller signing out for the night. Thank you guys for your support. I really appreciate it. Thank you for your comment. Thank you for the gift also. To have a great night. Peace.